Okay, it's been a while. Ari, you ready?
Oh yeah, a little rusty,
Yeah, me
but
too. I feel like it's my first podcast, but we'll make it happen. Here
nice.
we go. It's another Friday. This week I did it my way. I made lots of juice, and now I feel a boost. Baby say, oh, it's the way I make my juice. Pressing fruits and roots. This week I did it my way. Baby say, oh, now let's have some fun. There is nothing greater than Friday's at Good Nature. Ow, 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 ow. What's up, my juice lovers? Welcome to Good Nature Radio. This is your host, Charlie Wettlaufer, joined by the number one juice consultant in the whole entire world, Chef Ari Sexner. What's up, Chef?
What's going on?
Author of The Juicing Companion, the only juicing book that teaches you how to make your own unique recipes. In episode 59, we're going to be discussing common mistakes people make when opening a juice bar and how to avoid them. We've been doing this a while now. We've seen hundreds of juice bars starting out, and Ari and myself, we see the same types of mistakes repeatedly. So we're going to try to kind of walk through those and hopefully save some people some trouble of figuring things out the hard way.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, you can join us all on the Good Nature Commercial Juicing Facebook group. Just search for Good Nature Commercial Juicing, where all the discussion topics are based on running a successful juice business. We also started a new Hummingbird owner Facebook group. So if you've ordered Hummingbird, you think about ordering Hummingbird, or you already have it, join us there. Search for Hummingbird owners, Facebook to find that. We've been building and shipping lots of hummingbirds, getting caught up on orders. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. The only reviews we've gotten are 5 stars. So, if anybody's thinking about it, join us on Facebook there. Ask questions. We'll be happy to answer them for you. And all right, we can get into it. So, the first issue we see when people are starting a juice bar is not asking for the right help. For example, maybe you're a superstar at making juice, but things like human resources, running a kitchen, back of house, or maybe running customer service, front of house is not your specialty. So, Ari, you want to talk through that?
Yeah, definitely. First off, there's a lot of mistakes you could do when starting an operation. There's a lot of things you can get lucky and get right, but like you said, this is kind of the most common mistakes we see come up, and there's a lot of variables with everything that we're discussing today. But that's kind of why I think it's important to go in depth on the reasoning behind it, on why we're saying this. So that first one, I think no one, even people that have opened restaurants for years, 10, 20 restaurants, it's very rare you can be an expert in so many different fields, from, HR, design standpoint, lease negotiations, back of the house, managing, all that stuff. So it's extremely important to know what your specialty is, or what you're familiar with or comfortable with, and analyzing what your weak points are, and go out and get help, assistance with that. I know a lot of times when this comes up, you got so much going on, it's easy, like, okay, I got everything handled except for the actual menu. Let me go ahead and, I'm not going to get help. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the same recipes I found from some other place, or I saw this design that worked in this operation in California. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and put that there. There's a lot more that goes into that. So I think that's a big misstep that happens a lot of times, where they don't actually reach out for help, understand why they're doing something, and just kind of copy and paste that situation.
We see that a lot. And I think the problem is, if you copy another business, you don't even know if everything's working for them or not. You just kind of assume it is, but they are being thoughtful and trying stuff, and then they'll remove the stuff that doesn't work and try new stuff. But if all you're doing is copying what they have, when you start your juice business, you're just kind of going in blind.
Yeah. We see that so often with like the menu, especially that's what I kind of focus on mostly. And I see it so often because there's so much stuff where, you know, you have something that is good for your demographic, like people getting pineapple in so many different recipes, and they're in a place where it's freezing and it's expensive and it's not as good quality, or something that's really, the demographics extremely important too. But there's a lot that goes into uh, opening an operation for sure.
Yeah. Um, and I'd like to add that restaurant experience is what you're looking for. In a juice bar, you are running a restaurant. We've talked about this many times previously, and there's plenty of help out there in every area. You should be able to find people that are experts in this and help other restaurants all the time. So, just start doing some local research, look for consultants, look for other restaurant owners. You can just talk to other restaurant owners and tell them, look, I'd love to have a coffee and talk about what I'm doing and see if you can offer any advice.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are more than happy to help out newcomers. So, don't be shy. Just approach people, ask questions, tell them what you're struggling with, what you don't know, what you might not even know what you don't know, and they might
Mm-hmm.
give you some direction. So I guess that'd be my advice. Just talk to other people in the industry.
I think that's so important too. Like, it's a restaurant. It's crazy to think how quick the industry moves. Like, if you look back 10 years ago when I first started here, there were so many juice bars that just sold juice on its own,
Right.
and now they almost don't exist anymore. It's
Yep.
very rare. So,
Yeah. The old model doesn't really work anymore, which is like, oh, I just make juice and have it in bottles in a refrigerator and people just buy juice, but that
mhm.
doesn't really do it anymore to bring people in the store repeatedly, because a lot of people, they want more than just juice. They might want a smoothie and then buy a juice on the way out, or they might want
Mhm.
an avocado toast and a smoothie and a couple of juices, and if you only offer juice and your competitors offer more things, they're going to choose to go to the competition that gives them more of the holistic experience.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have location and finding a manageable lease.
Yeah. That's, I think that is, you got to be realistic. There's always these in every city, there's kind of like these dream locations, but the lease is not affordable or obtainable for the product you're selling. I think those are the two biggest things, is kind of figuring out, breaking down like what your break even point would be every day, even just based on the lease, and see if that is kind of realistic. you
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot of options, around the city. You don't have to be city center, directly above a gym or anything like that, or next to a gym. I think what a lot of what we could learn from the larger operations, like the franchises or grocery stores, or they do a lot of analytics, studying the areas, and what the neighborhoods are like. I was talking to someone recently, and they had a really awesome idea that I never even thought about before. They have 4 locations and we're looking for a 5th one. And they're based out of California. And it was pretty cool. He had an idea of, he wants to spot 3 different operations, and then that's the area he's going to build or look for a location. So like, he was in California and he named 3 businesses. It was like I think Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. He wanted to find a luxury gym like Lifetime Fitness or something like that, and then actually an In-N-Out burger.
Okay.
And he's like, if he finds where there's 3 of those close by each other, which is pretty fairly common in California, he sets up kind of like a 5 mile radius in that area, and lets his commercial realtor kind of on notice, like, look, if anything pops up in this area, you let me know. It
Mhm.
was pretty interesting because those large companies, like, they spend so much on researching the demographics,
Yeah, they do
analytics,
for
and
sure. Yeah.
you know,
As a whole industry, these big companies will pay a lot for this stuff, and I don't think it's necessarily feasible for a small mom and pop shop to do that. But um, yeah, let them do the hard work,
yeah,
and then you just figure it out.
yeah,
And I agree. It does seem like here in Austin,
hmm,
the Trader Joe's are popping up in certain areas, and they all seem like the affluent areas where people like to
yeah,
spend money. So they probably got a pretty good research team. My friend Kenny Lau in LA, he's helped smaller businesses do this, and what he recommends is if you're thinking about opening in a certain area, go find a comparable business, whether it's like a cafe or a restaurant, and just sit outside for like maybe the 4 hours around lunchtime, right? Like 11 to 2 or something, or 10 to 2, or in the afternoon. Count the people that go in and come out, and calculate what you think an average price is that they're paying per ticket. So if you count 200 people go to the business and you think their average check is $30, then you can do the math to think what they make on an average day. And then you can kind of do the numbers and think, okay, so this is what you could make if you're offering what people want. And maybe you're making X number of $1,000 per day. And then if your profit margin is like 30%, then what can you afford for a lease?
yeah,
And you might find that a lot of places price you out because the leases are so expensive, because the businesses that lease there are doing bigger numbers and have better profit margins. Like they're doing luxury retail or something, they can afford a much higher lease because people are spending a lot more money. And then that can kind of help you get an idea of the different areas and demographics as well.
yeah.
And it,
I've also heard the negative side of it too, where a place opened up and they didn't realize they were within a certain mile range from a Starbucks, and they couldn't. They had to change their menu last minute to remove coffee, and
oh, because they
that's
had like a non-compete clause in
yeah,
the contract or
and it was
something.
just
Yeah.
like barely in that radius. So
Yeah, a very important thing to ask.
yeah,
Am I allowed to sell juice, coffee, smoothies, etc.? Yeah, and that is quite common in a shopping center that they only want one burger place, one coffee shop,
mhm.
whatever, because it's important to the other businesses there. All right, and how about, do you have anything unique that's going to stand out from the competition, actually bring people in the door?
Yeah. I think that's really kind of like lack of concept, like a strong concept. And that kind of goes back with like the strengths, just kind of being able to have that overview of the entire operation. And, is this area, is this unique enough that there's a demand for it in the area? Like possibly a juice bar in an area that they're not familiar with juice. Maybe you want to focus on one of the other aspects of a menu to bring them in and then have the juice available. It's kind of uh, figuring out what works for your area, not kind of pressing it too much in one direction or the other. Balance is so important with that. Uh, so really understanding your demographic is important, and knowing what that area needs.
Mm, yeah, it does seem like when juice bars are the first juice bar to open an area, they usually do pretty well.
Hmm.
When you're the third or fourth, it can be more difficult unless you really offer something unique, like an elevated experience, or maybe you're a whole wellness spa that offers other services. That seems to do pretty well. But if there's a juice bar down the street that offers the same items, then you're basically just splitting the customer base. Then it's probably not the best place.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be juice. It could be, like the toast concepts or the bowl formats, and they have juice because it's a great category that goes with it and increases the check averages. But that's their main focus. That works with their area, and it brings people in.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
this also goes into branding.
Hmm.
Um, it's important to develop a brand that tells a story and kind of hooks people into who you are as a business
Yeah.
and as a business owner. Like we see a lot of people just sort of opening AC's juice because AC is their initials and they sell juice,
Hmm.
but that doesn't really tell a story. Like, think about why are you actually doing it and really sort of dig deep and get the whole brand story figured out. Like, one of my favorite brands is Chris Good's brand, Ruby Jean's Juicery in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it's all about his grandma, Ruby Jean, who passed away and had, health issues. And just if he had known what he knows now on living a healthy life, she could have lived a longer life, and it's his grandmother's face is the logo. And he works a lot with the local community and improving the health and wellness of the community. And it really drives his story and his brand, and it really hooks people. And
Yeah.
so figure that out. Think about, why did you get into juice in the first place, and how can you tell that story to get other people into juice? It really does. Juice bars really serve an important role in the community, where it's many times people's first step into a healthier lifestyle. Like, they wander in the juice bar for the first time, they've never really tried juice, and they try green juice for the first time and they really like it. And that can be the moment that they completely change their life and become a healthy person and live a better, more fruitful life. So, I think just think about the purpose of your business. You're not just a juice bar, you are changing people's lives. So what
Mhm.
does that mean for your brand? And work with a branding person, figure out the story, figure out the colors. A lot of people jump to the logo, but the logo comes after you figure out what the whole story is.
Mhm.
So I always recommend doing a real branding project and not just jumping to the logo and going on some online service where you get a logo for a couple $100 or something. I mean,
Mhm.
because then you're missing the whole brand.
I I love to, like, I always refer to Ruby Jeans and Chris Good because it's like such a strong, impactful story he has and talking with us. But I think like the biggest thing that we talked about last time that he was on was, he went against the grain. Everyone's always like, oh, disposable income, this is where you want to be, the juice bar. And he opened an area where there was nothing like that around there. And he had the menu that was, what he was looking for, and he stuck with it and was extremely successful, opened different locations. And then he went out to the area that had disposable income and it didn't work. And that's really kind of
Right. Yep.
the concept, your area, location, all kind of works together. So it's,
Yeah. The prime location that was supposed to be the best
mhm.
and had the highest rent and everything actually was the one that wasn't successful for him, because it was missing. Yeah. The story didn't resonate as well with the people there.
Yeah.
At least how I understood it.
I think it's, there's some areas too where there's not like a certain ethnicity or type of people there that you can kind of cater to. Like, there's a lot of juice bars in like South Texas where they got like Mexican influence, where we have like some cool ingredients like cactus, jicama, stuff like that. But there's some areas where they don't have that really. It's kind of like no real identity. I kind of felt like that was Vegas a little bit. There was
Right.
there was a lot of people from all over and no real uh sections or areas. But then that's kind of where it's important to kind of focus on the approachability of it. you know I think getting people in the door with, unique ingredients, but still approachable. That's like the biggest challenge. And that's what you need to do for your menu.
Right. Yeah. I remember when juice was first becoming popular, a lot of the juice bars you're going to that just felt so disconnected because it was all about being vegan and plant-based and
Mm-hmm.
yoga, and which resonated with that segment well, but that's not a lot of people. That's a small segment. If you look at any given city, that's a very small percentage of people that are going to fit into that. So that might be too far down the health path for a lot of people, and you got to dial it back a bit. So yeah, I guess knowing your demographic and what you stand for is a really good place to start, and then go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Another one on the list here is a lot of juice bars. They don't truly understand what things are costing them. They're just sort of asking around, hey, what do you charge for this? What do you charge for that? And then they're just
Yeah.
setting their prices based on that, but they don't really know why.
Yeah.
So can we talk through that a little bit?
Yeah. It especially if you're not comfortable with costing stuff, it's important to become comfortable, understand it. There's a lot of work that goes into costing, and truly understanding it is critical, because that's whether you stay open or you close. So the steps in the process is, creating the menu, creating the idea, the concept, testing them out, costing it out. Okay, figuring out the true cost for that product, and then looking at your area, your competition, your demographic, if they could afford it. If not, then figure out, either you got to adjust your prices to see what'll work for that area regarding the competition and demographic, or what kind of adjustments do you need to make for your recipes, to make them work. So I think that's a very important process, not to skip any steps on that, because that is your financials. That's the most important aspect of that.
Right. And that changes over time as your costs change. So if you don't even know why something's a certain price, you're not even going to know when it becomes unprofitable. And we do offer a free costing calculator spreadsheet. I'll include the link in show notes. And we did a whole live YouTube session on it with some juice bar owners. If you search Juicing Level Up, you can find it as one of the last few episodes. So yeah, I'll put links to both of those in the show notes here. And you can always reach out to Ari for a free consultation. He'll be happy to talk you through the steps on figuring out your costs. And then if you want to hire him for help, you can definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to Ari at goodnature.com. Okay, let's talk about hiring people. Hiring on skill versus personality.
Yeah. There is everyone I talk to that is kind of going through the hiring process. A lot of times they're always like, I can't find someone with juicing experience. That's the number one thing they're always kind of worried about, but it goes back to that very first kind of mistake, is understanding your strengths and weaknesses. I think it's important to hire based on personality instead of skill. For the main reason is you can't teach personality. And if it's something you're not strong with, then hopefully you brought someone on before hiring an employee to bring you up to speed on that aspect. If it's like, if you don't understand the kitchen aspect, maybe brought in a consultant or talk to someone about that. Or from the HR aspect, you definitely don't want to rely on an employee for that aspect. And the biggest thing with the most important aspect too is, a lot of times people hire, they find that employee that has juice bar experience. You bring them in, and then you teach them the way you want to do it, their process, and then they're like, this is the way I do it at the old juice bar. This is the way I used to do it over here. This is the way they do it over there. And pretty soon they're changing the processes rather than you telling them how you want it done. I'd much rather have someone know the way I do it and why, rather than trying to implement previous experience. Uh, I think that's really important. I could understand it initially, to have that help when you're opening, but I want to rely on that completely to have your employees teach you the aspects as a business owner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the personality, I mean, you want to hire people that want to work hard and do a good job, not necessarily that they've done every single thing that you want them to do before, because good employees will figure it out because they care. They're going to work hard. They're going to ask questions. They're going to hop on YouTube and watch a video when they don't know how to use the
Mm-hmm.
juicer or something, So I totally agree. Like when you find those good people, they'll be with you for a long time. They'll put in the effort. They'll work their way up. They may become a manager in the future. But yeah, just find people that want to work hard and do a good job.
Yeah. I mean, that the stress level of being able to open and having people that understand that concept is far less than running an operation and then a month down the road your juicer quits and leaves, and you're stuck with no one understanding the process, because you relied on them throughout. So
Right.
it's, yeah.
And that brings us into opening. You know, another mistake we see is people sort of launching into a grand opening without doing the soft open. So do you want to talk about the difference there?
Yeah. I feel a lot of times people are too rushed. This has come up a lot lately too with some of my clients. Too big of a rush to have their grand opening when there shouldn't be a rush. The grand opening is like when I'm ready to, open experience to all my future customers, and it's very rare you could have that done uh, straight from training, getting ready to open right into the grand opening. Uh, that soft opening is such a valuable time where you could open the doors, have that first day or two and have friends and family for the employees even, and kind of set rules where you can get this amount for free and then the rest at a discounted price. During this time, you're kind of figuring out, how you're going to do everything, and taking that valuable feedback. I would kind of have a slight discounted price for everything during that soft opening phase, and encourage feedback, offer that discount if they give you feedback, because that stuff is so valuable. And you're letting people know that just walk in, listen, we're not perfected yet. We're not at the point of grand opening. We're kind of working out the kinks. We appreciate you coming in. Here's 10% discount for you know, letting us know your experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Even make it a little easier where you have stations like smoothies, juices, bowls. Just start with 2 of those initially. Have a great system in place, get your employees comfortable, then keep expanding and always building up to that grand opening.
Right. Yeah.
That
So the
way.
soft open, well, you might go 1 week or 2 weeks or something to
Yeah.
figure everything out.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you're open and people are coming in and buying things, but you're working out the kinks. There's going to be a lot of kinks with how orders are flowing. You may realize the POS system hasn't been completely set up correctly. You have to change a
Hmm.
couple things. The manager might realize they need to work on the processes, and it's much easier to do that when you let everybody know, hey, we're not, yeah, like you said, we haven't fully worked out all the kinks. Come on in. Here's a small discount. Please provide feedback. And you can set up a way to get feedback. You should be walking around asking people questions. You should have a little box where they can drop in comments, ask them what their favorite item was, ask them
Yeah.
if there's something they didn't like. You may find out quickly there's one item that's not popular, and you can just tear that off the menu. And then when you finally do the grand opening, you'll be confident that all the kinks have been worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And promote that grand opening. The first soft opening day you have, just have cards and like, here's my grand opening, because you can get a good feel during training on, okay, I'm going to need about 2 weeks to get comfortable for grand opening, and everything's going to be that build up for that grand opening. And that's typically what works best for all operations. Takes a lot of stress off, really gives employees a lot of confidence, and kind of perfect everything, even cost. So
yeah. So Good Natured's here to help. We have lots of good resources. We have our blog, we have this podcast, we have the live juicing level up YouTube live streams we do where you can ask questions, and we have special guests on. We're going to be starting back up the live School of Juice trainings in person. We're going to be doing them at the Good Nature Factory in Buffalo soon. Keep an eye out for that. And we're here to help. You can reach out to Ari at goodnature.com. Have any questions on this, leave a comment on the video here. And all right, thanks everybody. We'll see you soon.
see you.
It's another Friday. This week I did it my way. I made lots of juice and now I feel a boost. Baby say, oh, it's the way I make my juice. Pressing fruits and roots. This week I did it my way. Baby say, oh, now let's have some fun. There is nothing greater than Fridays at Good Nature.